Welcome back to the Anachroschism. We left off last time with one group in the sewers fending off horrific attacks from monstrous creatures. And now we pan back to Tessian and Grail and Lena. After you guys have made the appropriate preparations, you leave the friendly confines of the Gilded Ale House and start to head north. And even though you guys haven't actually been to the front of Thorogood's estate yet, it's not hard to miss. You just follow the direction of the giant wall. Go ahead.
Before we get too far, Tessian is going to cast Mage Armor, twinned, on both of the girls, because they are not wearing armor. And then cast... Ladies, whatever. And then he'll cast it once on himself, essentially.
Okay. Let them know what that does.
So that does... you all have essentially 13 plus your dexterity as your armor now. So it's like the equivalent of wearing studded leather, but without having to wear studded leather.
Oh, nice.
It lasts for 8 hours. It goes away if you put on some other form of armor. Don't remember if it goes away if you're using a shield. I think you can use a shield.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think you can.
But yeah, you can't wear... If you put some other armor on, it will cancel the spell.
Wait, did you say 13 plus dex?
Yes, yeah. 13 plus dex.
Ooh, that's very good for me.
Yeah, it's okay for Lena. It's definitely an improvement over no armor.
Mm-hmm.
But for Grail, it'll be especially handy because that makes you like 16 or something.
Yep, 16.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's pretty good.
Thank you kindly, Tessian.
And he's like, no problem. Gotta keep you safe, of course.
Oh, of course.
Walking through the streets, it's now, mid-morning at this point, and the city's about what you've come to expect at this point. There's a handful fewer people out and about just because of the time of day compared to when you got in yesterday, but it's still the same idea. Anybody you pass on the street is still kind of like kind of turning away and, just don't seem to want any part of these people now wearing these fancy clothes.
Rude.
Yeah. How dare they? Let's kill them all. You are able to walk for about 20 minutes or so without any incident. And eventually you find yourself standing in front of the opening of the giant wall that is the exterior of the semicircle that ensconces that surrounds Whitworth's mansion. You also see, currently there are only 4 guards. When Stuart went, there were 6, but at this point there are only 4 guards decked out in pretty serious-looking leather armor. They're basically 2 on each side of the gate, 1 on the front, looking out, and then 2 on the front, and then 2 on the back, keeping an eye on things within the courtyard.
Tessian will walk up to, I don't know, do they have any, does one of them have a sergeant's hat? I don't know what that is, but, is there a feather in one of their hats, or they're just dudes?
Maybe a hat that says sergeant across
right.
the front.
A hat that says NPC with a glowing light over his head.
I don't know. He's got imperial bars on his jacket. I don't know. I don't know how this works.
No, none of them really stand out in a particular way. That was part of the scouting report you got from Mina as well, in that they are not really meant to be stationed above one another. They are all on essentially equal standing. So talking to either of them should be as effective as the other.
Does one of them look more sociable? I don't know. Is one of them just covered in blood and scars, and the other one's fancy perfume, or no?
Is insight in this game, or is that just 4th edition?
Insight is in this game, but at this point you're probably looking more for perception. So make a perception check.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Great.
I'm assuming, mostly because of the distance. Insight, you typically have to be kind of close to pick up any kind of ticks or tells.
17?
I'm assuming you want to get a scouting report before you get up to them. So you kind of take a moment to look them over as much as you can without seeming suspicious, like you're staring at them or using your Vegeta Scouter to gauge their power level. The one on the right of the 2 that are facing the front is actually... they're both looking at you as you approach, but this one kind of has more of a piqued interest look, whereas the one on the left is more scowly face.
Okay, we'll go to the less scowly faced guy. We'll go to piqued guy.
All right, he's very piqued.
Okay, that's good.
Fully peaked.
Pequid.
Fully peaked. Whatever the hell that means.
Is that like woke?
It's for this generation. It might as well be. Yeah. People probably don't even know how to spell that word. Spoiler alert, it has a Q.
Yes, yeah, there's a Q in peaked. So Tessian will approach him. Both ladies at his side, and you just be like, "Hello, my good man. I'm here to see Whitver Thorogood."
And he kind of exchanges a look with the guard on the other side. And then he looks back and he's like, "Ha ha! Really? Here to see Whitwer, are you? Well, what's your business?"
And Tessian's like, "Well, I am Tessian Nikolai Black II, and I am here on behalf of my mother, the ruler of Black Harbor, and I am here to offer something of a arrangement, a potential deal of sorts that will benefit both of our, cities. And yes, as you can see, I'm here, good times, and hoping to, continue my fortune with this deal."
Grail and Lena, what are you doing as this happens?
I'm smiling at the guard very suggestively.
Yeah.
Winky.
Yeah, not quite like campy, but I'm definitely giving him an eye.
I'm going to lock arms with Tessian and just kind of lean on his shoulder a little bit and then be smiling as well.
Nice.
Try to look like I'm enjoying myself.
I like how one of the two escorts is like going with her man, and one of them is immediately side-eyeing any other prospective interest.
Hey, I mean, appeal to your audience, right?
I mean, I'm here with this guy, but I could make it an upward move, I'm all about upward mobility.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So he takes in what Tessian has to say, and he goes, "Well, I suppose Mr. Thorogood always has an eye for any new business ventures, but you'll find that talk comes cheap around these places. What is it exactly that you have to offer him?"
And Tessian's like, "Well, I'm hoping that we can deal with an exchange of resources, and that will benefit both of us. But I'll admit I'm not exactly keen on sharing all the details with his guards. No offense, of course, but I mean, well, you're not the man in charge, are you?"
I laugh. not like rudely. I'm just kind of like
creepy Japanese schoolgirl.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I assume
pretty much.
this is Titus in Final Fantasy X status. Ha 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 ha!
Oh, no.
It's at this point that the other guard, the crosser, more stern-looking one, kind of chimes in, and he says, "We should send them on their way. This has no interest for Whitwer." And the guard that you're actually kind of addressing more closely says, "Now, hold on a minute. There could be something to this. They're clearly outsiders. They're not from around here. If they were, they would know better than just to approach the front gates like this. So maybe there's some merit to what they're saying."
Oh my god.
And he looks back at Tessian.
And Tessian's like, "I'm sorry. Was I supposed to go someplace else? I mean, I could, if I need to speak with Whitver through some other means, I'm sure I could, but, I mean, the man has a gate for a reason, does he not?"
Oh, there's a reason, all right. It has mostly to do with keeping out undesirables and, making sure that Whitwer is safe at all times. But I'll tell you what. If you'll wait outside here, I'll go check and see what he says.
And Tessian laughs when he says undesirables. He's just like, because, of course, he's looking at the two women next to him. He's like, "Both of you are quite desirable. Don't listen to this man."
And then I just kind of like laugh and like, "Aw, you."
I like it.
All right, so assuming you were good with the idea of hanging out for a moment, you see the one guard leave. As he does so, the other one, who is still rather, I don't want to say mean looking, just very curt, gruff. He kind of slides over and stands directly in front of the middle of the gate, as opposed to flanking on both sides to sort of cover the post, while the guy you were talking to goes inside. The two people on the other side, stationed at the sides of the opening of the gate, are also kind of looking around the corner, just curious as to what's happening, taking you in, seeing what the situation is. About 10 awkward minutes pass because you see the guy enter the manor from the front door, which is directly across. Like, you can see the double doors straight ahead across a walkway inside this semicircle opening. You see him disappear. 10 minutes or so pass.
Tessine will make like small talk with Grail and Lena about like, back in Black Harbor, we've got a number of wolves ourselves. He's pretty much just trying to talk himself up and like kind of make comparisons and like, I do prefer the weather on the coast over this. It's something about the rain and the like. He's pretty much just trying to talk like he's got all the time in the world. He can do whatever whatever. It's all no biggie.
The guard who's sort of standing at the post doesn't say much during this process, except he chimes in once to say kind of matter-of-factly, well, if you like it so much better there, you can always go back.
Marry it.
And Tessian's like, that I could, but unfortunately my duty takes me elsewhere, including this place, which is, it's got a rustic charm, I suppose. That burlesque of yours is quite the show.
I wouldn't know. I don't get to go there very often.
And Tessian's like, oh, really? And he kind of like eyeballs the guards up at the top, and then he fishes for, I don't know, how much did a show cost us, Chris, there? Like, how much gold was it?
I don't remember you guys paying anything.
Okay. Well, Tessian will, like, flick him a gold piece and just be like, well, the next time you're there, have a drink on me.
And you see him, he like reaches up and he catches it and he looks it over and he thinks about it. And he stuffs it in his pocket. But he doesn't say anything.
You like how generous
He had to count it first.
he is with our money?
I know, he's making it rain with all your party funds. All the guards going to be paid.
I'm the worst.
Another 5 minutes or so passes, and it's getting to the point where you're almost starting to wonder, like, is he even coming back? Has this failed before the word go? But as you're just starting to have this little bit of like lingering doubt enter your mind, the double doors again open, and you see the same guard return. And he walks back up across this expanse to the gate. And he says, well, Whitwer is a little bit surprised by the idea. A little bit bored by the novelty of a meeting, to be honest, but I guess he was interested enough to take an audience with you.
Exquisite.
Tessian's like, I guess we'll take what we can get.
You will, of course, be accompanied by guards at all times. We also need to make sure you're not carrying any weapons on you. But you will be granted entry to the mansion.
And Tessian's like, of course. Just don't get too handsy with the ladies. They're rather feisty.
I love it.
That almost sounds like an invitation to the creeper type.
That's true.
Oh.
So I guess we'll let them search us or whatever it is they got to do. So,
okay. Smash cut back to the sewers. Everyone's drowning again.
Drowning in snakes. Drowning in snakes.
Everyone's inside of a snake.
Does Gothak need some heals?
If you were to offer, he would politely decline.
He would decline?
Yep.
Well, snoogity do.
He has some health.
Okay.
He is wounded, but he does not look like he's especially worse for wear.
Okay.
What level
Stuart,
is he?
did you take any damage from that?
Did he take it? Yeah, he took 11 damage in that fight.
Stuart did?
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
Stuart.
Stuart
I took 7. I don't.
Have some 7 back then.
Sure.
I'm gonna lay my hands upon you.
Oh, I've been waiting for this all my life.
Finally, the sewer gives us permission to do the deed.
yeah, where do you lay those hands, though? That's the question.
Hey, it's between him and me.
Yeah,
You're not in
there.
the sewer,
I
are
started
You
you?
don't
to take
know.
My pants off.
Made a
No, I'm
choice.
just kidding.
As one does when touched.
It's always elbows. Always elbows.
After you take a moment to catch your breath as best you can in the somewhat thinned out oxygen, the threat does seem to have passed, and though you're a little bit worse for wear, you came out on the other side relatively unharmed. And it's only a couple more minutes more heading north before you find another staircase. And it leads up into a still darkened room, but with the benefit of the torch, you can see inside that it appears to be almost like a storage closet of sorts. There's a handful of boxes that, even just on quick inspection, just looking over the room, you can see some of them have like brooms and mops sticking out of them. There's a little bit of like food stuff in the area, but it seems to be like a shed or a closet or something that has been put up as like a makeshift room within this. So like, even just from looking around the room without even like a perception check, you can see that this was originally just supposed to be the room that gave access to the sewers, like the one you came in the middle of town. But this one was also repurposed to do something else, because apparently they don't care about what comes and goes from the sewers anymore, so they figure we got to use the room for something.
I did want to tell Gothak, you look like you have a mean right hook there, Gothak. Wouldn't want to catch one to my face.
Well, you're right about that. But, I mean, you handled yourself pretty well in a fight, too, I have to say. Just because I take a more direct approach with my fist doesn't mean you're any less capable.
Oh, thanks, Gothic. That means a lot to me.
But you're right. These knuckles have been used as something of like a meat grinder in the past, so I think it's best if we stay on the same side.
I've never agreed on anything more in my life. So we're in a storage area. I would like to tell, no offense, Karash and Gothic. I don't know how lithely you move, but maybe I should scope out the head. I can be pretty quiet.
Gothak's like, well, no offense taken. I'm not terrible at it, but seems like it's more up your alley.
So
I am terrible at it.
So like we walked up through like a cellar, like a cellar door now, and we're in this storage room.
Essentially, there was no door, but
Okay.
it was kind of an incline into a flattened floor that would have been like where a cellar door could be.
An open hole into the sewer,
That's
into
correct.
a room inside of a building. Wow, that is terrible design.
Yeah.
Are there windows?
No.
There's a door in front of us.
Yes.
I would like to go check and see if the door is locked.
All right. And leading on it pretty quickly, just kind of testing this handle. It is not.
It's not locked. Okay. A cod.
But it springs a trap and you die. No.
Okay. Are there any Look, this is an old place, so there might be like little holes in the door or something that I'd like to look for first.
The walls and door do seem pretty solid. Like this
Okay.
was built to contain the smell of an open area that was leaking out. So like the room still smells like the sewers, but it seems like this was built to essentially limit the damage from leaking out anywhere else in the area. But you could like crack the door if you wanted to.
I would like to crack the door and look outside.
Okay.
Is that a stealth check?
Sure. See if you fall out the door.
Okay. I need to find a better system. 12.
Okay. And then go ahead and make a perception check.
Ha 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 ha. What do I perceive? If I roll a good stealth check and then I see nothing, it's kind of pointless. 20 total, not a crit.
If you roll a bad stealth check and you see everything, it's
That's true.
better, but not really. Okay. You kind of push the door open just enough to where you could get like an eyeball and or the barrel of a gun out and take a peek. And from this position, you can actually see that you are inside the courtyard area of Whitworth Thorogood's mansion. And from here, you can see there are 2 guards stationed on both sides of a semicircle arc. And you can also see that there are 2 other guards currently engaged in conversation and patting down Grail and Lena and Tessian
Damn.
at the front gate. And as they're doing this, they seem to complete their check, and the 2 of them motion for the 3 to go inside the area, and they start walking up the path towards the front doors. So there's Tessian in the middle, and then there's Grail and Lena on each side, and then the 2 guards that were on the other side of the gate walk in step with them as they start to go inside.
Okay.
And then the 2 other guards also follow behind them. So the 4 of them are essentially flanking the 3 as they head towards the inside of the mansion.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. I'm gonna be watching. Do I see? If I'm looking for like what does this courtyard look like? It sounds like there's quite a few guards, but they're all kind of like escorting them. How many other guards are now around the area?
There are still a good half dozen guards milling about the perimeter here. Those ones seem to be specifically covering the gates. And in their stead, you notice that two of the other ones that were sort of like around the wall on the sides have now kind of started to shift over in position to cover that opening where the gate was. So they're not leaving it unattended, basically.
So if I wanted to sneak over to the mansion itself, that sounds like that would be pretty tough. Like, is there like a route like where there's like bushes where I could get behind, like along the side?
There is a smattering of like decorative bushes in the area that might serve as cover. You would definitely want to try and pick a spot because there's a gap between this shed and the first like line of bushes. So you're gonna have to try and find an opening. But if you can make it through that first part, you would probably have some cover that would let you get to the mansion then.
Okay, I'd like to go over and talk to Crash and Gothak. So I'm
You may
basically
not.
Oh.
No, you can't.
I'm gonna tell them everything that I basically just saw, including the route for stealthing over there in case we want to try that avenue.
We together?
In case we as a team decide to send me.
Good times. Yeah, that if that's I can't help outside this room. I'm going to be incredibly noisy and not stealthy in the slightest. So.
And I don't think Gothak can come with either because he doesn't want to be seen, right?
His agreement was that he was going to come as far as the sewer anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can see he's sort of kept himself, as you were taking that peek, he sort of kept himself out of even the line of sight that could have been created by that narrow gap. He's playing it safe.
What do you think, though, Gothak? I want to give Tessian time to talk. I don't want to blow it, but I want to be there to support him in case it goes awry.
I mean, if you're sneaky enough, you should probably at least be in position. Maybe you can listen in and see how things are going that way. If things go wrong and you're all the way out here, I'm not sure how you're going to know until things are too late.
I'm going to wait a couple minutes, and then I'm going to make my move. I suppose you'll be heading back, or are you going to stay here?
Well, I don't want to run the risk of you guys getting caught and them coming in here and taking a look around, so I at the very least have to go back down into the sewers.
All right, well, I understand. Thank you for your help to this point. I don't know how it would have been without you here.
Well, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I hope it actually works out. And tell you what, if you don't die, come stop by the shop and say hi.
Always the businessman, eh, Gothak? I think I'll do just that.
I haven't gotten rich by being a shitty businessman.
I respect that. I'll be careful on the way back.
I will.
And wish us luck.
Yeah.
And I put on my mask, and it looks... Gothak thinks it looks cool.
Yes. Gothak,
That's
suddenly
optimistic.
his legs quiver. So he makes his way back down the staircase, and it's not long before you no longer hear his somewhat heavy footfalls, because he's not really trying to be quiet, so he's just a big man making steps. But a few seconds pass, and you no longer hear him, and you also saw him pull out a torch as he started to go back down. Now that he doesn't have the loner lantern, he needs some way to see, so he lights a torch as he's heading back towards the main part of the city.
All right, Crash, it's just me and you now.
Mostly just you if you leave.
Well, right, but I need to give you a signal or something so you know when to come. No offense, you're as loud as Satan's drum kit. I need to leave you here.
What's a Satan?
That's actually a good point.
You can always pull Asmodeus if you wanted.
And Asmodeus, there you go. That would be the best one.
What
And it's
is
appropriate for a city with infernals in it.
What's a good code to let you know to come out blade swinging?
Scream?
I suppose that would work. Maybe something a little less obvious.
Oh,
Maybe like
a gunshot.
What?
A gunshot.
Okay. Now I was thinking maybe a bird. Like, and if you hear this bird, this non-native bird to this area, then you know to come out. Brrr. It's just like that. Just listen for it.
Okay. I will listen for the bird inside of the 80-foot walls.
But it will go 3 times. If you hear it twice or 4 times, you know that's it's actually a real bird, and you don't have to come out then.
A non-native real bird. Someone's going around with like a bird cage with a non-native
case.
bird.
African or European.
Just give me what's the noise? You tell me the noise so I know we're on the same page.
A bird call.
Yeah,
it works.
like that,
I don't
just
know
like
why
that.
we're doing that, but that's a bird call works.
Or alternatively, if you do hear the screaming or the gunshot, the yes, then come out still. But I'm hoping you know code in case. Thank you, Karash.
Just go. Just go.
Well, I was going to wait, but it took like 10 minutes just talking to you.
Cut back to the inside of the mansion. Tessian's dead.
So if I look over, if I look out, are they now like, are they gone out of sight?
Yes.
Okay.
They have presumably entered the building, which we will get to in a second.
I'm gonna wait a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna wait just a little bit.
How long are you going to wait?
God.
Until they're not looking.
I'm gonna wait 5 minutes.
Okay. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, lifeline.
5 minutes. 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna go. Now, in that 5 minutes, if like all the guards vacate for some reason, I would take an opportunity. So 5 minutes, or if the guards leave.
Okay. As you kind of keep an eye on the outside and these 5 minutes pass, you see that there are still that handful of guards that are patrolling the area. The couple that have moved over to the gate seem to be stationed there, but there are others that are just kind of periodically walking to different areas in the courtyard. None of them seem to be headed towards this storage closet or whatever it is. And just from watching their patterns and whatnot, you get the sense that this is not really an area that they patrol. Probably because most people don't really want to come through the sewers in the first place. And if that was just a taste of what the sewers had to offer that you guys encountered, you can kind of quickly see why. Like most normal people, if they tried that route, would be dead. So
Okay.
the guards don't seem to pay the storage place much mind. But they are still kind of keeping an eye on just about every other area in the courtyard. There are gaps where you should have a decent chance at sneaking through when like one of them makes a cycle. But
Okay.
I'm going to do the obvious thing I should have done as soon as we got into a storage room and start poking around as quietly as I can. See if there's anything worth poking at.
I'm still there, and I.
Yeah, but you're going to leave at some point, so if I have more time to do it in while you're gone.
So, but have you started poking around while I'm here?
As long as I'm doing it quietly, yeah.
Well, okay, I'm gonna say, what are you doing, Karash? Let's wait. What if you knock this barrel over and all the guards come in? You're strong, my friend. You are not the most coordinated person I've met. Just do me a favor. I know it's going to be hard. Just sit here, sit right here, and just sit and wait for the signal.
What a duo.
No poking around, no searching. Just sit and wait for me.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop and stare at him.
Okay. There you go. I pat him on the shoulder. By now it's been, so I was saying wait 5 minutes, but I was figuring it probably took like 5 minutes, so it's probably been 10 minutes in my head from when they're going. That's when so I'm going to go ahead and go.
sure.
Unless do you want me to
As
do
soon
that
as he leaves, I'm just under my breath. I'm not sure if he suffered an injury to the head when he was a child. I don't understand.
Stuart, no fun, McKinley. Okay.
Man, I just can't stop but thinking how creepy this storeroom is. Because there's just like an open hole into a sewer where there are like 6-foot spiders. So like if someone was like, hey man, go grab some tape out of the storage shed, I'd be like, no, I'm not going in there. There's spiders in there, man. They're huge.
Now, Chris, I know I had to tell you the result first, but I'm not going to use lucky because I have a 24 stealth.
Okay.
So I'm gonna rock with the 24 stealth.
Yeah, you think you're safe with a
Jiminy.
24 stealth?
I sure freaking hope so.
All right. A 2. That's not going to be good enough. Nope. A 21.
Damn.
So you wait for an opening, and when the guards seem to be kind of walking in a direction that they wouldn't be able to see you from, and you can insert like the Ocarina of Time sneaky music here.
That's exactly.
Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. So you were able to kind of duck around the corner real quick, head across this little like maybe 20 to 25 foot expanse of grass where there's no bush cover, but then you're able to make it behind to the point where it doesn't seem like anybody could see you.
Okay. And from here, I'm just going to... So it seems like it's pretty safe for me to move freely around here. I mean, like, somewhat freely.
Yeah, I mean, on this side, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of move almost like the baseline, right? Seeing if I can hear or see anything regarding my teammates. Even if I can just see them, that's enough for me to kind of be able to feel like I can keep an eye on them.
Okay. On the inside, Tessian and the ladies. The 4 guards lead you inside a pretty elaborate and nice like foyer entrance area where there's like marble floors and some nice Greek columns for some reason. It looks like someone with no interior decorating sense essentially just collected nice things and put them into a room. Somebody who was like, you know what, I like that. I want that in here. I like that. This is good too. And even though they don't mesh or match in any way, it's just... There's a lot of opulence in the downstairs welcoming area.
Tessian comments on that. This is the most opulent disaster of a room I've ever seen in my life.
I'm gonna nod in agreement and just be like, "There's so much stuff. Why is there so much stuff?"
And the guard that you've kind of made nice with is still the only one who's really like talking at this point because the other ones just seem like they don't really care. But he says, well, you know how it works with Whitwer. He just finds things he likes and takes them, and I don't think he's ever really given much consideration to where things should go. He just kind of puts them wherever he feels like at the time.
Tessian's like, I mean, they're nice, but maybe I should have a talk with him. You know, he could draw a lot more attention to himself if he just thought this through a little bit more. I mean, these columns here, they don't belong at all, not with this floor.
Well, you have to understand, he doesn't really get that many visitors, and when he does, it's not really for social gatherings, so I don't know that he cares all that much, but you can certainly try.
Tessian's like, fair enough.
And as you're having this conversation, he leads you basically through this room to what appears to be a grand staircase that goes up and then splits left and right. And Tessian, there are windows in the downstairs, and you can see this happening, but you're quickly realizing that you're going to lose visuals on them as soon as they go up to the second floor. So they lead you upstairs, then to the right. Up on the second floor, more nonsense. You can actually see some of the rooms as they lead you down this hallway. Some of the doors are just open to them, and they all appear to be like bedrooms. At one point, you see a large kitchen with nobody in it. The bedrooms all have, again, like nice bedding and well-made furniture, and all of it appears to be like dusty and seldom used, especially like recently. Like it just doesn't look like anything has been lived in. It just seems like rooms that are set up for the sake of being rooms, but there's not like a mansion full of Thoroughgood's kids all running about and living in the place. Because who could love him? Eventually, you reach a staircase at the end of the hallway on the second floor that goes up to the third. And the guards continue to kind of lead you. You're sort of in the front again with them flanking from behind just to make sure they can all keep an eye on you. Stuart, are you going to change positions or...
So I saw them go up, and that was it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Am I like on the side of the house now? Then, like, where am I exactly?
You are on the... Essentially, you're like on the front of the house at the corner. That one window that's on the front-facing side is enough to give you a line of sight on where the staircase was, because there's not very many rooms downstairs. It's mostly that open area. Going around the side would prevent you from seeing them, so you might have even looked at those windows and then been like, I can't follow them and come back. So there's basically like shrubs, you, and this window that gives you that line. But again, as soon as they started to go upstairs, you lost visuals.
I'm gonna wait a little bit because I wanna try to wait so that if I do make a move, it's gonna be where they've ended up, and I'm not just like following them ineffectively as they move throughout the house.
Okay. Up on the third floor, this almost seems ridiculous at this point. As they're leading you through, it's like this place is much too large for one person to live in like this. And you're like, there's almost an embarrassment of riches to the point where there are, again, rooms on the third floor that are not used. But they're there. And the impression you get is that this is all just, again, fitting with what you've learned about his character to this point, in that he wanted a huge house because apparently he took it and he likes to have nice things, but he doesn't need it. He's not using the space. He just has it so that nobody else does. You see a little bit more activity on this floor. There are a couple other guards that you pass as you're walking through. Some they're just kind of like monitoring different areas of the third floor. A couple of them actually in the rooms sleeping. So a few of the rooms are actually being used, but for the most part, that's the exception and not the rule. And finally, you come to a staircase that leads up to the fourth floor. And up on the fourth floor, things seem to change a little bit. Up here, the carpet is much nicer and patterned, almost like a fine throw rug, but it extends from wall to wall. It actually covers the entire surface of the floor. And there are like fancy light fixtures and whatever this place was built for or has been set up for. Apparently the fourth floor is like the penthouse suite. It's the nicest place. And eventually they lead you down another hallway that goes up to a door. And it's at this point that one of the guards that was flanking you on the sides goes up, kind of like wraps his knuckles on the door. And from the inside you hear, "Come in." And this guard that moved up to knock opens the door to the inside. They kind of, I don't want to say shove you in, but you can feel like this urgency or almost like, like this imperative of like, okay, you guys are here, in you go, from the guys that are behind you. And after they do that, two of the guards come into the room, stand right by the door, basically blocking it. You guys kind of come in a few steps, and two of the guards remain outside. So this seems to be kind of like a common formation that they go to when they're having to transport people or when they're watching. Like they seem to be going in like pairs pretty often. On the inside, you see, so like if the rest of the mansion was, again, this opulent, elaborately decorated but discordant mess, this is much more organized. This is like a room that has sense to it. Symmetry. There are some nice like indoor plants that are strategically placed to cover like certain areas of the room that are, again, like equidistant from each other. That makes everything else... Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if that existed in this universe, which it doesn't. There's a nice, like, large oak desk in the center of the room. There are some bookcases behind it with what appear to be pretty well organized books. Like you can see just from looking at them, there's like a color scheme to it and a size like that makes everything look uniform. You see a large, pretty comfortable looking chair behind the desk, and in it is a man wearing what appears to be a deep blue cloak with a hood up. And it's to the point where you can really only see maybe like the nose and the mouth and like the surrounding area, but the shadow of the hood kind of even covers up to like you can't really even see his eyes from the way he's currently positioned. And he says, "Well, managed to interrupt my day this far. What do you want?" And
I guess Tessian will kind of step forward and like, my apologies, Lord Thorogood. And Tessian will do a kind of bow. He does it kind of slowly, not too slowly, but slowly enough that he's kind of hoping that the ladies catch on that they should probably bow.
Yep, I'll bow.
And he's like, I am here on behalf of my mother, and we were looking to engage in potentially some trade, beneficial for both of us. I can see that you're a busy man, a man of fine taste and opulence, and I did not mean to interrupt anything, but well, I'm hoping this will benefit both of us. And as such, I thought it might be worth your time.
You can see him, as he's listening, he's sort of like drumming his fingers on one hand idly on his desk, and his right hand is like flat on the surface of the desk. It almost seems to be like covering something, but you're really not sure what from this distance. And he says, you know, if I wanted flattery, I could pay people to give me that. So who the hell are you, and what business do you have here?
And Tessian's like, he kind of opens up his jacket and he kind of pulls out 2 scrolls, or like a scroll case, and then the scroll that he wrote the day before. And is there like a guard around, or like should he does it look like he should hand this to somebody, or if he approaches the desk, does anybody do anything?
As you go to pull that out, even though the guards have searched you, you can hear both of them go to their weapons at their side.
He still pulls it out anyway.
Right. And they're keeping an eye on you, but they don't draw the weapons because they see you pull out, what appears to be paper. And one of them does kind of move around to put himself in a position to take that from you and then bring it across the room.
So he hands them both, and he's like, I am Nikolai. I'm Tessia Nikolai Black II. I am a representative of my mother, the Stormlord of Black Harbor, and I am here to propose a deal, a trade, if you're amenable to it. Some of the ore from your region for some of the lumber from mine. My father is hoping to use the ore for a number of his projects, and your region is rich with it, and, well, from my understanding, you could use some of the lumber yourself, as we have plenty of that. That's pretty much the gist of it. As you can see there, you've got the deal laid out, and my scroll of pedigree showing that I am indeed who I say I am.
So as you're saying this, the guard kind of takes the papers across the room, lays it on the desk in front of Thorogood, and he doesn't even pick them up. His eyes do scroll across the first page. He's kind of looking it over and just reading it, at least on a surface level. So at the very least, he's engaged with it, but he also doesn't seem like he's not interested in multiple pages. He's just kind of getting a sense of the deal and then leaving it at that. And he kind of, you can see his eyes darting back and forth across the page as he kind of leans forward. The hood gives you just enough of a view to see. His eyes are reading it over. He's legitimately giving this a read. Eventually, he's kind of gets to the end of the first page and seems over it at that point, and he says, Black Harbor. I don't know what to make of this, boy. On the one hand, I believe this to be a reputable deal. And on the other, I'm curious why they would send someone of your stature here for a deal so insignificant. Unless this is just a starting point for something bigger, but typically a deal of this scale would be handled by people far below our stature. So what's special about this? Why are you here?
And Tessian's like, well, if we're being honest and upfront, my mother has decided that relations with Black Harbor have suffered in recent years. And as such, as many of our deals as are possible should be made with as much closeness to the family to show that it means something. We're attempting to rebuild relations with some of the surrounding towns and cities, and this is just part of that strategy. These sort of deals might have been insignificant in the past, but we want to show the good people of Aramea that we are invested, that we have a personal interest in it. As such, I am here.
He kind of mulls this over. As he's doing this, you can kind of pick up there's a different smell to this room than throughout the rest of the mansion. The rest of the mansion, again, had this kind of stale, dead air smell to it, like a house that has just not been lived in, and everything just felt dry. And in here, there's a pleasant smell. You can actually see there's a bit of incense burning in the middle of the room, and you can also pick up wafts of his cologne. This, again, despite the fact that he doesn't appear to care much about the rest of the place, this appears to be a man who has some semblance of taste, because everything in the office, well decorated, pleasant, has a nice odor to him. And you just kind of, as your words hang in the air, you can pick all these things up and realize that for what little he cares for the rest of this place, Whitworth certainly does care about appearances to some respect. And as he mulls your words over, he says, well, I have certainly heard about Black Harbor's decreased involvement with other areas in the region. Makes sense that they might try to correct that. Even a place with trade such as theirs can only stand on its own for so long. I tell you what, I will think over your proposal and let you know tomorrow if you find that to be agreeable.
Tosia nods. Yeah.
I will have my men come and send word to you once I've made a decision. You'll have to let them know where they can find you. But come morning, I will pass along a message either in the affirmative or the negative. It seems like a reasonable deal from the terms you've laid out, but I may want to try to maneuver the details just a little bit more in my favor. You understand, business give and take and all that, but we can always write up a new contract if necessary. But I will need some time to think on it.
And Tessian's like, take all the time you need. I've only just arrived here in Falstock and have yet to fully explore all of its entertainment to my liking. So no rush whatsoever. He's like, my companions and I don't remember the name of the inn now, but I'm going to, whatever the hell it's called. The Gilded...
Winged Donkey.
No, it was the Gilded Ale House? Is
Yep.
that the name of it? My companions and I are staying at the Gilded Ale House, at least for now. So by all means, send word and I'll be around.
Very well, then. Well, I thank you for thinking so highly of this city as to bring a proposal like this to me. It's good to know the Thorogood name is spreading to the point where people are recognizing how powerful I've become in this town. But we still have a ways to go before we're on the level of a place like Black Harbor. So, with due respect, I will say thank you for the terms of this arrangement. I will think it over, and you will have word from me no later than tomorrow.
And Tessian will nod and be like, it's no problem whatsoever. Like I said, this is but a beginning for my family, and we're hoping to expand our reach, and your city is a prime candidate for us. So thank you for your time.
And you can see he kind of just motions with his hand, kind of like a... And the two guards that are in the room, one of them goes around to open the door. The other one positions himself around again to where he's between you and Whitwer. And they, again, not really super pushy, but they start kind of, again, sort of guiding you towards the door and back to the exterior of the room, assuming you don't push back or anything.
I think the only thing is Tessian's going to want that scroll of pedigree back, but other than that, I don't know how much he'd want to push for it now. He'll let it slide for now. So
Okay. The guards escort you out of the room and start retracing their steps, essentially going back through the floors. And over the course of it, the one guard, who is still apparently somewhat talkative in this case, because the others, two of them haven't even said a word, the other one was more gruff as you were waiting. He goes, well, that certainly went differently than I expected.
And Tessian will kind of feign curiosity, like he doesn't know how things typically go here, and be like, whatever do you mean? He seemed quite amicable. Is that not typically how things go?
Well, I don't know if you caught him on a good day or if your stature actually means something. I mean, I've heard of the city as well, but still, a lot of people who come up for visits are strongly encouraged never to come back. So, to me, I'm surprised. I thought maybe you were full of it.
Tessian's like, I'll admit, I'm surprised. He seems to be doing well off. I mean, a mansion of this caliber, taste notwithstanding, I mean, the man must be doing well for himself. You all look to be a well-hired sort, worth the gold.
Well, let's put it this way. He pays us enough that we never have incentive to look for other work.
Tessian's like, well, sometimes that's all the loyalty you need.
You guys eventually make your way... Go ahead.
I was going to say, but Tessian's going to be like, but if you don't mind me asking, is the town really doing well enough for all of this? It just seems like a waste, I guess. This house could, oh, no offense to the Lord, but he could throw quite a party in here, if you know what I'm saying. to hear that he turned so many people away, it seems, well, unfortunate.
As you guys continue walking, he says, there might be something to that, but to me, from what I've heard, he's more interested in putting his money elsewhere. So it's not about keeping up appearances. It's more about, it's at this point where the gruff guard kind of cuts in and he's like, all right, Gary, that's enough friendship.
Gary.
And Gary, as it were, kind of quiets down. He's like, you're right, I'm probably overstepping my place. Look, you needn't worry about the state of affairs in here. Whitwer's content with what he does and how he goes about it and what he makes, and as far as we're concerned, if he's happy, we're happy.
Tessie nods. He's like, fair enough. I didn't mean any disrespect. It's just potential business partners and all. It's good to know the kinds of people you're getting into business with.
Well, though you have shown nothing but respect in your time here, I would caution you about the idea of partners or giving advice so early in this arrangement. That's all I would say to that.
And Tessie nods. He's like, your advice is much appreciated.
They escort you back down the big staircase and then through the middle area, which is wider, into the nice opening area. And then to the doors, and Stuart, you can now see them as they come back down the staircase. They seem as well as they were when they went in. And you watch as they bring them out through the double doors and then across the courtyard. And then as they get up towards the gate, the four of them are now standing like essentially as a human wall in the semicircle. And they say, well, be on your way. We'll bring you word tomorrow.
While they're walking, I'm assuming some of the guards are probably either joining them that were outside or at the very least paying attention to them walking.
Paying attention to, yes, not joining.
I think I would like to stealth back in this moment while I have the best chance of like having their attention somewhere else.
Okay, go ahead and make a stealth check.
I jump out of the bushes and yell surprise.
It's a bird! A rare exotic bird!
23 stealth.
Okay.
Hot damn.
Crash. In the shed, were you doing anything in this 20-minute-ish span?
I'm standing in a unblinking statuesque pose, which would make a lich uncomfortable.
Yes.
Okay. So, Stuart, as you sneak back across, you kind of wait for an opening again, and you see as they're all kind of looking in that direction to keep an eye on these guests that apparently made it out unscathed, which is part of what attracts their attention, because, again, that seems to be pretty rare in this area. And taking advantage of the opening, you duck in that expanse again between the bushes and the shed and slip back inside the door, seemingly undiscovered. And inside you see Karash with a dead stare on his face.
Karash, great job. This is exactly what I was talking about. Come, follow me. We're going to talk. And I lead him into the sewer.
But I wanted to search the boxes.
We will have plenty of time to search later, my friend. Trust me.
Tessie and Grail and Lena, make a perception check. Just because I want you guys to get to roll some too.
A 3. So
He is very
A 7.
engrossed.
7.
8. Wow.
come on, Lena, save us. No!
I'm sorry. I rolled bad.
Ugh.
Okay. Nothing really catches your eye as you're heading out through the gates, and you find yourself back in the main city part of Falstock with a business proposal that has seemingly had some success.